Welcome to the Adam Smith Institute. We do this series called Freedom's Fighters, honouring those who over the years have fought the good fight for free trade, individual liberty, and all of the good things that the free market economy offers to the world. Tonight, it is Guido Fawkes, a.k.a. I'm now allowed to say the name, aren't I? Paul Staines.
It's out there.
The format is very simple. I ask the questions, he does the answers. After 20 minutes, we stop. You don't ask any questions, he doesn't give any answers. But we do have more drinks. So, now Guido. Some people remember a young and entrepreneurial Paul Staines, who was PR to a firm running something called acid house parties. Is it true that these were youthful raves at which some people might have consumed stimulants?
Absolutely, which wasn't what I was saying back in those days when I was doing the PR for them. So my friend Tony Colston-Hayter was on the front pages of all the tabloids, and he was doing these orbital parties around the M25. And the front pages of the papers were all sort of acid house, drug scare, all children on drugs. And I got the phone rang on a sort of Monday morning, and he said, I've got a bit of a problem you can help me with. And I said, I can see that looking at the papers. So I was the only person he knew who dealt with the papers or knew anything about politics. And I was working for a guy called David Hart at the time, who was the maverick kind of Thatcher confidant who organised the Union of Democratic Mine Workers. So, but in the week I was working for him, and on the weekends I was dressed in psychedelic clothes. Actually, they liked me to wear a suit. So I'd be wearing a sort of psychedelic sartorial combination of a suit and...
Why were they called acid house?
Oh, they were called acid house for reasons I don't know, but I think it might have been LSD, I don't know. But my explanation for that, I don't know how I came up with this, was that acid was Chicago slang for cutting, and because they cut the music and mixed it up, that's why they called it acid house. And I had the bizarre kind of experience of seeing that repeated as a matter of fact in Hansard when some Tory MP had fallen for it.
Was this what today we'd call fake news?
I think it was shaping the agenda, I think.
Oh, there you go. Look, obviously your libertarianism comes from somewhere. Was it from a desire to let young people do their own thing and make their own choices? Or was there a moment in your life, perhaps a book, or a lecture, or some incident that turned you to libertarianism?
There was eventually a book, but originally I think I had the opposite of most toddlers who say it's not fair. I felt that things were unfair because they were trying to make it fair. And so I went to a comprehensive primary school, and I would finish you get the primary kids get the yearbook. And so by the second term, I'd finish the year's workbook. So I felt it was unfair that I had to sit around and be in a comprehensive system and be treated equally. So I had this anti-egalitarianism kind of innately in me. But only when I was a teenager did a book come upon me. So I went to a Catholic secondary school, and Catholic libraries always have the classics in them if any of you went to a Catholic school. And, here's a dark secret. I was a library prefect. You didn't see that one coming, did you? So that meant I could stay in out of the rain and read all these books in lunchtime. And I read Plato's Republic and all those kind of things. I thought, this Plato guy has a great idea. Society's divided into silver, bronze, gold. Guess which one I thought I was going to be? And this seems to work for me. So I wouldn't say I was very libertarian at that point. And then I saw this book, From Plato to NATO by Patrick McGee. I thought, Plato's good. Read it. And it was sort of primer to Karl Popper. So I read Karl Popper's Open Society and Its Enemies. And that's it. So that was me ideologically on the railroad from then onwards.
So it's Popper's Open Society?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, excellent. In a previous life, you spent some years in finance as a dealer and a trader. Did you make money?
Yeah, I did, surprisingly. I was a sort of okay average broker. So I started out, sort of politics came to an end for me in my mid-20s. Before that, I went to acid house. I sort of fell out of politics into acid house because David Hart got worried that he was getting more publicity for his aide being an acid house PR guy than he was for whatever it was we were supposed to be doing. And I ended up falling in with Tony again, who had gone from Acid House to beating casinos with electronics. So we had these little Cyan organizer boards that we'd stripped down, and we were card counting using computers.
Yeah. Have you been checked out of a casino?
Yeah,
Oh,
quite a few.
excellent.
Quite a few, yeah. No, they do. Well, you get a letter the next day saying your membership's been rescinded. They don't actually push you up against the wall and beat you up. They just don't let you back in the next day.
Look, your experience as a trader, did it teach you anything about capitalism, about markets?
I was getting to how I got in there. So it all went wrong one Christmas where I lost 20 grand in like 20 minutes, and that was quite a lot of money, and I think a lot
Darren,
of
20 grand in 20 minutes. Sorry, carry on.
and the problem was we borrowed about half of it from the triads, and it all got very complicated. And my girlfriend at the time said, if you want to gamble, go to the city. So I wrote letters to people. I think Michael Spencer was the first one I went to see. And he spoke to me for 45 minutes about gambling and backgammon and card counting. And then he said, how can I get a gong? Obviously, I said, give money to the Adam Smith Institute, that will help out. And he didn't give me a job. I didn't get a job. I was going around saying I wanted to be a dealer. And so I did the banking exams, got a job as a ticket clerk on minimum wage. And 5 years later, after becoming a broker, I was running a fund. And that's when I started making real money.
It is recorded, by the way, that lawsuit fees actually bankrupted
you.
Yeah,
So I
had 2003, 15 years ago.
I had quite a good few years. From 97 to 2001, I was running a tech stock fund. And if you know what happened in the late 90s in tech stocks, it was quite profitable. When the music stopped and the NASDAQ crashed, I was doing too much coke, and I was in Tokyo, and I was looking at a Bloomberg screen, doing not much else but looking at a Bloomberg screen and doing coke. And I had the great idea when I quit and came back to London of suing my backer, who was worth a lot more money than me. And the lesson I've taken from this is never sue someone who's a lot richer than you. Because he danced me around the courts for quite a while, and he lost some. There was lots of skirmishing. We fought over whether we were going to have it in Hong Kong or Thailand or London. And he had the great idea of filling out my tax returns for the last 5 years. Sent that to the taxman, and the taxman sent it back to me saying I hadn't signed it. But I did owe him £700,000. So it was the legal fees and the tax battle and the fact that £700,000 is more than I had, and I was just tired of it after 2 years.
Now,
so I voluntarily.
Your blog is not the most respectful of the legal system. Is that perhaps a little bit of history there?
It's a bit of just natural rebelliousness, and it's a bit because of the jurisdictional arbitrage I've done. So I've arbed the different legal regimes, and this has gone all the way to the High Court. So when I've broken an injunction, when I broke the Elton John injunction, do you remember that Elton John and David Furnish? David Furnish, if you don't know what was happening, he was in a pool of olive oil with friends, naked, and we didn't mention that, but we sort of mentioned the injunction of it, and Elton John sues us. But I'm in Ireland, but he takes it all the way to the Supreme Court. So I'm watching the CCTV feed of the Supreme Court of them argue about me, and they both agreed that we're out of the country. So the tricks I learned from the hedge fund days of, tax havens and different legal jurisdictions to protect you from legal and tax regimes, I've copied into this. And so far, it's worked. Never been successfully sued.
Your blog is rated one of the most influential in the country. What was your motive in starting it? 2004, just after your bankruptcy.
Yeah, so I found it a little bit difficult to go back into finance when you're bankrupt.
Yeah, technical.
Yeah. There's a fit and proper rule, apparently, and being not in charge of finances is difficult. So I had time to kill, and I just got married, and I thought, Perry de Havilland of Samizdata, I was sending in things to him, and they weren't getting published. So I thought, he said to me, why don't you do it yourself? I went, how do you do that? And he said, you just go on blogger.com and set up your own little blog, it's free. So I did that, and I remember turning to my wife, Barry might have been married 1 year, and saying, I'm going to give this blogging thing a go. And my wife goes, broking, you're getting back to broking? Oh great, you'll make money, come down the phone again, it'll be fine. And she was really relieved. I said, no, blogging, not broking. And she said, blogging's never going to pay as well as bond broking.
Now, in a previous life, as a youngster, you were a UK champion, a gaming champion of what was it called? Atari Asteroids.
Yeah.
Now, did you keep up gaming? Have you kept it up since?
No, and I tried to discourage my kids from it. The asteroids thing was, I mean, I saved up my paper round money, bought an Atari VCS, which was those first home video games, and I entered the competition, and I realised that all the way we played the games in those days was, you stay on, kill the things, and asteroids is that game with the cornflakes that go across the screen, you shoot them in a little triangle, and I realised that it was how much you could score in 15 minutes, so change strategy. Instead of being cautious, be reckless and shoot everything, and that's why I won.
Okay.
But no, sports, not really my forte, you'll be surprised to hear. Just passed my level 2 powerboating.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Haven't got a powerboat yet, though.
You started the Global Growth website to promote free trade. Free trade is reckoned to be perhaps in trouble around the world. Would you say the prospects for free trade are perhaps more threatened now than they've been in, say, like a decade, 2 decades?
Yeah, I think it's probably more challenged now. Although you've got the emergence of China as pro-free trade, which is a turn-up for, not surprising, it's in their economic interest, but so China is becoming the sensible player on the world stage and in favour of a rules-based order. And I'm not convinced that Trump isn't doing his usual bait-and-switch trick. I mean, he is trying to knock down tariffs in Europe.
Yes.
And he does have a point about American trucks having high tariffs coming to Europe. So maybe he will be successful in shaking things up and, scare the Europeans into cutting tariffs.
Okay. It's recorded, it's not in my book, Think Tank, The History of the Adam Smith Institute, but it is on the record that you actually worked for the Adam Smith Institute. And furthermore, it's believed that you were the shortest term employee the Adam Smith Institute ever had. Would you like to tell us?
Yeah, I always like to tell the story, Madsen, as you well know. Every time I come to the Adam Smith Institute and speak to anyone or meet anyone from the Adam Smith Institute or interns in the street, I always tell the story that Madsen, this is in the mid-80s sometime, and in those days you used to have things called envelopes, which you had to stuff with policy papers, and an intern would do the photocopying and stuff it in envelopes, and stuff like that. And Madsen had, as he explained to me in the pizza place down there, a payment method for interns which was market-based, kiddo. And he said to me at that time, he denies remembering it nowadays, that he'd pay me whatever I asked, but if I asked too much, he wouldn't hire me again. So I asked him for £100 for an afternoon's work in 1985, I think it was. Madsen was exasperated and like, you've got to be crazy, But he did write the cheque, and I never worked here again.
Ah, well, there you go. There was an incident after an ASM party when you were intercepted at Victoria by Her Majesty's Constabulary, and you had to wear a tag on your leg. For
yeah, so...
was that embarrassing, or did you actually show it off at every possible opportunity?
Yeah, mixed. So I was here. There was lots of booze flowing at one of these kind of events afterwards. We all went to the Kennington Tandoori afterwards. I was driving my wife's Golf and a little bit wobbly, coming back from the curry house, taking some of your staff to drop them off. Got pulled over, spent the night in the cells for drink driving. It was my 3rd offence, so they threw the, it actually is my 4th, but no one knows about the time I did it on a bike. They threw the book at me, and the magistrate said, you obviously don't get the message, so we're going to crush your car. And I said, it's my wife's car. And he went, right. And I thought, he's going to send me to jail now, isn't he? And he didn't. He put an electronic tag on me, which was great fun. And you had to be back at home by 9. And I can tell you, even though it was in the private sector, occasionally I missed that 9 o'clock thing. And they'd be ringing for half an hour, and 10 o'clock comes, and they're going, you didn't answer the phone at 9 o'clock. I was like, what are you talking about? And I would be less than the best condition and wearing the tag. But I had great fun with that tag. It was certainly gave me credibility in the Badlands of Islington.
Okay, let's do some quickies. Beer or wine?
Wine.
What type?
Red, usually, and white summer.
French?
So
French?
Yeah, well, they're the ones I know.
Any particular type of French wine?
Côte de Beaune.
Okay. Bone. Okay. Crisps or nuts?
Nuts.
football, cricket, or neither?
Rugby when the national teams are playing.
Okay. Big Mac or KFC?
Right, that is the question that I've been concerned about the most. You know, because I always have that desire for Big Macs before you have them, and then afterwards there's a sort of the depression about it. So I've thought about this a little bit, and I think, on balance, I'm going to go with KFC.
Right.
And that is the most challenging question of the night.
Daniel, can you arrange some KFC? A big bucket, please. Do you got a favourite pub or wine bar?
Oh. I used to go to the French House in Soho quite a lot. I used to live in Rupert Street,
Okay.
so that was convenient.
In your career, you've done exposés, and you've led to you've instigated the resignation of several public figures. Which one do you think was the most useful that you did?
I think it's got to be Damien McBride, because it was at sort of Gordon Brown days when they were riding high in the polls and Cameron couldn't crack the get ahead, and we knocked 5% off Labour's polling that weekend. In a day,
in
that weekend, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the Tories went ahead for the first time, and
What had he done?
Dave McBride was Gordon Brown's press guy, and he had conceived with Derek Draper a series of smears, and unfortunately they'd emailed them to each other, and I got hold of them, and what it showed was the sheer nastiness of Gordon Brown's operation, and that maybe their moral compass wasn't quite as true north as it should be.
Okay. Personal liberty, many people in this room, including yourself, have campaigned for personal freedom. How do you rate its prospects in the coming years? Are you an optimist or a pessimist?
Well, I'm usually optimistic. Technology is a bit of a concern because you can be tracked, and this gadget is the biggest spy you've got. You carry it around, and the authorities know where you are. So that worries me a little bit. But I think you can live free in a relatively unfree world if you really want to.
So you're an optimist, basically.
I'm an optimist.
Okay. What's the most embarrassing thing you've done in the past 3 months?
I'm not really easily embarrassed. So I've embarrassed others quite a lot. My kids usually. And as I said, if you're watching, switch it off. So a couple of weeks ago, I live in south of Ireland, in Waterford, and there's an estuary at the bottom of my garden, and on the other side is Wexford, the county of Wexford. And for years, because my parents live over there, there's a little ferry, a little car ferry that goes between the two. And for years, as I've gone on that car ferry, I thought, I could swim that. I could swim that. And there was a charity thing that I saw on a Friday night when I was driving back, and I saw this thing beat the ferry, swim across the estuary. Right. So 20 euros down, I'm doing it the next morning. And I tell the kids over breakfast, and my 13-year-old daughter's like, "You're going to die." And my 11-year-old is, "I'm not going, it's going to be very embarrassing."
What's the distance?
It is about half a mile.
Half a mile, yeah.
But it's a famously tidal estuary, and so you swim in an arc, and so you end up doing at least twice that.
Did you do it?
Yes.
How long did it take you?
It took me 37 minutes.
How long did it take the winner?
7 minutes.
Ah. that is pretty embarrassing.
I came last.
Well, very good.
But out of 180 people, I came last and I was 167th, so 13 quit, so it wasn't that bad.
But you did it.
I did it.
Yeah. Okay. Final question. Some people have a turning point in their lives when they decide to change, when they decide to do things differently. Did that ever happen to you? Was there a moment when you looked in a mirror and said, "I'm going to live differently from today"?
I was going to say I was getting married, but actually it wasn't when I got married. It was when I was trying to get my wife to marry me, and I was trying to get her to go out with me. And she had known me as a sort of loud, spivvy guy who was always going off to the bathroom. And she worked in the city, and there was sort of a London Irish crowd in the city, and she thought she was going to have nothing to do with that jerk. So I stopped smoking, cut down drinking, stopped on drugs, and behaved for a year before she got engaged to me. So yes, you can change yourself in pursuit of women.
Excellent. Okay, the way we do this is there are no questions from the floor. We simply say thank you very much for a very enlightening and entertaining performance. And now there are more drinks.
There's also
You said it was red wine and bone?
Yeah.
I think we might have hit the nail on the head.
Shockingly. Perfect wine.
Thank you very much.
See what's inside.
This is like a magic trick, isn't it?
Wow.
It's a bottle.
And the label on it says...
Little.
Oh. I hoped it said bone.
It does.
Thank you very much.